Now, one of the exercises that's really good to do for perspective is learning how to draw letters in perspective. So if I were to do my initials, N, and I'm going to draw it as a shape. And then R, so that we can see how I would draw these two shapes. So right now these are just a shape, a drawing. If I were to fit this inside a box, okay, I'm fitting this inside a box for a reason, because we're going to fit this into one side of our 2-point perspective cube. So I'm going to draw my line for my corner of my box. And I'm going to start to the left this time. It doesn't matter which side you do this on. So for this first letter, I'm going to have my letter on the left side of my box. So I'm going to leave this here for now. I'm not going to clear this up. So essentially what I've drawn, let me get my marker. Okay. So this line right here is going to be this line right here of my N. So I'm going to call this A so that you can see what that is. And then this line right here, I'm going to call it B, is this line right here, B. So it's going to, my N is going to be on this side, and then I'm going to show you what the other side of our cube will look like. So to help me figure out the spacing of all my letters, my objects here, I'm going to put an X inside this box. So corner to corner, I'm going to draw an X. And the reason I'm drawing this X is so I can figure out where my center is of this, and I can see how close everything is to that center. So in this box here, I'm going to draw an X very lightly because I want to erase this at some point. And here I can see my center is actually here. Now, like, look at this. Because things are in perspective, things get smaller and closer together the closer it gets to the vanishing point. So this part of my letter is going to be fatter, and this part's going to be skinnier and smaller, where here they're equal, right? So I can go ahead and start putting in my line. So my one line here for my N, it's pretty close to this center here, so I'm going to say it's about here, and I'm going to draw a line straight down till I get to about this point. And that right now is going to take care of this line. The top of this, it's a little bit outside of here, so it's about this far away from my slanted line here. So I'm going to line up this to that point that I created. And that's going to take care of this part. And then I can line up my ruler back here and seal off the, oh, that's not good. And seal off the top. And so right now I have the top of my N completed because these two lines here have to go to the vanishing point. And now I'm just going to do the same for the bottom. So the bottom, this line lines up to this corner. So wherever this corner is, I'm going to line up my ruler to there. And I want to make sure it's nice and parallel to that line. And it's about equal to here. So these two are equal. So to make it equal here, I can't just draw a line. I've got to line up this to my vanishing point to see where it's going to be. So it's going to be somewhere like right here because it's slanted. So everything's at an angle now. I'm going to line up my ruler again to this, and then starting from this point, I'm going to bring a line straight down. Seal that line. So right now I have this line and this line. And then the bottom of my N should line up with this line here. So if I just line this back up to figure out where the bottom is of that, I can put a little dot, and then I can just line up this, the top of this line to that dot. Draw that line. Line up with my vanishing point. And then I have the front part of my N. So that's how I would draw one side of it. Now it's still flat, and when you're drawing 2 point, you're drawing kind of like a cube. So we need the other side. So I'm going to erase these lines that I don't need anymore. I'm actually going to erase some of this because that's going to get confusing. Now because we drew, this is the corner of my box. So this is one side of the box. We need to draw the other side of my box. So I'm going to line up the top of this to my vanishing point on to the right. And because I'm drawing a letter, I don't have to draw it too long. I'm just going to draw a short line out. I'm going to do the same for the bottom here. And because this side of my shape is solid, draw my parallel line here. And right now I have a front and a side of my letter. Now I'm missing parts of it. Like this part is flat. This should have a side and the inside should have a side. So to finish the inside leg, I'm going to line up to this corner. And because I made my box pretty wide, I can get away with drawing that a little bit wider. Line up the top part of this corner here. Bring this line down. And then because this line is slanted, I am going to line up my ruler here to that slant, bring it back, and draw that line here. So there has to be two lines that parallel, and then there has to be a line that goes to the vanishing point. So now I have like my letter N. And I'm just going to shade the sides of my letter. So I have a front and a side. Now with my letter R, I have a curved shape. I could draw my letter R really square. It does make it a lot easier. But not all letters are square like that. They're rounded, so you can draw rounded objects or rounded shapes in perspective as well. So I'm going to start again with my line, but this time I'm going to draw my letter R on this side. So this line I'm going to call letter C. which is now going to be this side of my letter R. Okay, because we're going to have this, our letter R is going to be on this side of our object. So I'm going to draw my box first. Line up to the vanishing point. I'm going to draw to the right. I'll line up my ruler to my line so it stays parallel, and I'm going to pull this back to about here. And this time I'm just going to make a very light line because I'm going to erase a lot of this at some point. For my box, so now I have this line is letter D, but that line's going to change. So that's this line here. That's letter D. I do want to draw my X into my letter R, so I can help me figure out where my center is at. Okay, so there's my letter, my center. And I can make adjustments to my letter R. I mean, I can bring this to be at the center, which makes it a lot easier. And then this part of the X becomes part of my R. So I might actually do that to help make it easier for me. And if that's the case, then I have quite a bit of this figured out already. So the leg, so this leg is going to stay the same. This time we're going to start with the bottom. My R is going to go to the line here. So I'm going to line up my ruler to my X, and I'm going to bring it down so about like there maybe. So this is going to be part of my leg here. So what I have right now is I have this part of my leg, and then I have this part of my leg, and this part of my line. Okay. And then what I'll do is from this corner, I'm going to line up my ruler to my vertical line here, and I'm going to pull it back until I get to this point. I'm going to draw my line straight down, and I'm going to, starting below this, I'm going to bring my line up just a little bit for that center opening here. So right now I have this line and this line. Okay. I am going to close this up, and that'll give me that bottom of my letter R. And now I just need to work on the top. So really, the easiest way to do this is to round this out, stick to my corners, and then if I wanted to keep it nice and round, but I need to stay to the edges. Like I can't just draw like a circle here. I need to make sure that it stays pretty close to the actual lines of the box. For the center part here, the top of this, I'm going to line up to the vanishing point, and I'm going to draw a line about there. Line up the bottom of that line to the vanishing point, and this touches the line here, and this rounds out here. And that gives me this and the top. So once I have this part, I can go ahead and erase any remnants of the X, and I can erase the outside part of the box because I don't need that. So notice my N is going this way because I drew it on this side of my cube. My R is now slanting towards this point. So you can draw your letter on either side. To finish this up, I now need to draw the other side of my letter R here. So I'm going to line up the bottom to the vanishing point on the left, bring a line out, line up the top, line up my ruler to this vertical line, pull it back. There's the side of my letter R. So the front, which is my letter, here's my side. Now, same thing, the leg here needs to have a front and a side because it has, the leg has two sides to it. So I'm going to line up the bottom. And again, like if I made this really skinny, then I'd have to make this really skinny too. But because I made it really fat, I can get away with just drawing this line to the vanishing point. And then, and again, make sure that's lined up to the vanishing point. I'm not just drawing that line wherever I want. It has to go to the vanishing point. And then also the inside of this, because this is above our vanishing point, technically we should see the top of this. So okay, so I'm gonna make this a box real quick. I'm just gonna light. So this is a box. So from this corner, draw to my vanishing point, which is telling me like we're not gonna see very much of it. So this is going to just come down like this. And the reason why it's coming down like this is because it's going to follow this curve here. And that's going to be the inside of my letter R. Okay, so again, this side, it's creating kind of like a V. So this is going this way, this is going this direction, this is going this direction, this is going this direction. So you have to have like that V point here. So there's got to be one corner to your letter.